In a stunning turn of events, Israel has just delivered a blow to Iran through methods so unexpected, the global community is...
The first alerts don't arrive as explosions. They arrive as silence. At 03:14 local time, regional radar feeds begin to distort in overlapping sectors stretching across multiple air defense grids. Not a full blackout. Not a clean failure. Something more unsettling. Partial blindness. Flickering returns. Ghost tracks appearing and vanishing in under 10 seconds. Within minutes, command nodes across the region are no longer asking what was hit. They are asking what is missing. And then the clock starts. 90 minutes. That is the first internal assessment window circulating through defense channels before confirmation must be made, whether this is electronic disruption, coordinated precision strikes, or the opening phase of a multi-domain operation still unfolding in real time. 90 minutes before uncertainty becomes doctrine failure. Because if the early reports are accurate, this is not a strike aimed at one target set. It is a synchronized pressure test across infrastructure layers, air defense nodes, drone control architecture, and external proxy coordination corridors, all engaged at once. Not destruction first, disorientation first. And in modern warfare, disorientation is the first strike that matters. Engagement spike, the battlefield is already active, but no one can yet see the full map. What makes the situation more volatile is not the scale, but the geometry. Analysts are describing a pattern that does not resemble traditional escalation ladders. There is no single front. Instead, multiple disconnected pressure points activating within a compressed time window, forcing regional systems to respond as if they are one integrated organism, when in reality, they are not. This is where timing becomes a weapon. Because air defense networks are not built for simultaneous multi-vector ambiguity. They are built for prioritization, identify, classify, assign, intercept. But when classification itself becomes unstable, when targets appear as fragments, not signatures, the system slows. Not because it is weak, but because it is forced to think under pressure. And that delay is the opening. A window measured not in hours, but in radar sweeps and decision cycles. Engagement spike. The system is reacting slower than the threat is evolving. Within the first hour, early assessments suggest a layered operation profile. The first layer appears to target detection infrastructure, radar sites, sensor relays, and communication nodes that feed early warning pictures. The second layer reportedly involves precision strikes or disruptive attacks against unmanned aerial system infrastructure, including launch coordination hubs. The third layer extends beyond national borders, affecting proxy-linked operational corridors where coordination and supply lines intersect. If this pattern is correct, the objective is not territorial gain. It is systemic fragmentation. Think of it like cutting power lines in a city, not to destroy buildings, but to isolate every district from every other district until no one can confirm what is happening next door. And that isolation creates a new kind of battlefield, one where uncertainty moves faster than verification. Engagement spike. Fragmentation is not collateral damage here. It is the objective. But early interpretations can be misleading in environments like this. Electronic warfare alone can mimic parts of this effect. False saturation, decoy signatures, and spectrum interference can produce the illusion of coordinated kinetic action when the real activity is far more limited. This is why analysts hesitate to call it a strike package, because calling it that implies clarity. And there's no clarity yet. What exists instead is pressure. Pressure across multiple systems that were never designed to fail at the same time. And as the clock crosses the 2-hour mark, another variable enters the equation: response latency. Because retaliation is not just about capability, it is about coordination under degraded awareness. And when awareness is fragmented, retaliation becomes probabilistic rather than precise. Engagement spike. The first response is always shaped by what you think happened, not what actually did. At this stage, the operational picture begins to split into competing interpretations. One view suggests a highly coordinated standoff engagement, potentially involving long-range precision systems designed to avoid direct airspace penetration. Another view suggests cyber-electronic disruption, layered with limited kinetic action designed to probe defenses rather than destroy them outright. Both interpretations share one critical implication. The intent is testing. Testing reaction time. Testing resilience. Testing integration between air defense, intelligence fusion centers, and regional coordination mechanisms. Because modern warfare between peer-adjacent systems is no longer about first strikes alone. It is about mapping response behavior under stress. And that mapping is often more valuable than the physical damage itself. Engagement spike. What is being measured here is not destruction. It is reaction geometry. As more data filters in, attention shifts to proxy-linked zones. These are not secondary theaters in modern conflict architecture. They are extension nodes. Distributed pressure points that allow states to apply force indirectly while maintaining strategic ambiguity. Reports indicate disruptions in coordination timing across multiple such zones simultaneously. Not confirmed destruction. Not confirmed strikes, but timing failures, communications lag, delayed synchronization, and interrupted command chains. In systems terms, this is equivalent to breaking the clock network of a distributed machine. When the clocks drift, the machine does not immediately stop. It begins to misalign itself. And misalignment in conflict systems leads to self-generated error. Engagement spike. Once coordination breaks, the system starts defeating itself before the enemy does. At roughly the midpoint of emerging analysis, a critical reframing begins to surface. This is where most interpretations start to shift. Because if this is only about strikes, it does not explain the synchronization pattern. But if this is about multi-domain shaping, electronic disruption, precision engagement, and psychological pressure applied simultaneously across multiple operational layers, then the event is not a strike sequence at all. It is a systems demonstration. A demonstration of what happens when layered networks are stressed beyond their ability to maintain a unified picture of reality. In that framing, the objective is not immediate battlefield gain. It is strategic signaling under live conditions. And signaling in modern conflict is not symbolic. It is instructional. It tells the adversary what future escalation would look like if expanded. Engagement spike. This is where the event stops being an incident and becomes a message. As the situation evolves, attention turns to defensive adaptation cycles. Air defense networks typically adapt in phases: initial detection, threat classification, engagement assignment, and post-engagement recalibration. But under conditions of simultaneous multi-sector pressure, those phases compress and overlap. Instead of a clean cycle, you get interference between cycles. One radar node is updating, while another is recalibrating. One command center is verifying, while another is already responding. The system becomes partially asynchronous. And asynchronous defense is slower defense. Not because it lacks capability, but because it loses shared timing. Engagement spike. Modern defense fails first in coordination, not in firepower. At this stage, escalation risk increases not through intent, but through uncertainty. When multiple actors are uncertain simultaneously, mirror responses become more likely. One side interprets disruption as preparation. The other interprets hesitation as vulnerability. And in that interpretive gap, escalation accelerates without explicit decision. This is the hidden danger of fragmented battle spaces. They do not require clear orders to intensify. They intensify through misread signals. Engagement spike. Escalation often begins when interpretation replaces verification. As the timeline progresses beyond initial contact, attention shifts to damage assessment logic. But even that process is degraded. Because damage assessment relies on stable observation channels. And when those channels are part of the disrupted system, assessment becomes inference. Inferences can be wrong. And wrong assessments in early phases of conflict have a unique property. They shape the next move before correction is possible. At this point, the situation becomes less about what has happened and more about what each actor believes has happened. Engagement spike belief becomes operational reality faster than facts can catch up. By the time regional command structures attempt to consolidate a unified picture, the operational environment has already moved ahead. Secondary effects begin to appear: repositioning of air assets, defensive dispersal, and increased alert posture across adjacent theaters. Each of these reactions is logical in isolation, but together they create a feedback loop of tension amplification. More posture creates more perceived threat. More perceived threat creates more posture. A self-reinforcing cycle begins. Engagement spike. The battlefield starts generating its own momentum. As the sequence approaches irreversible phase transition, analysts highlight a key threshold: sustained multi-domain ambiguity beyond initial contact window. Once this threshold is crossed, systems no longer return to baseline easily. They transition into persistent elevated alert states. That means even if physical activity decreases, operational tension remains high, and high-tension environments reduce decision latency tolerance, meaning future events require less trigger to produce larger response. Engagement spike. The system has now lowered its own threshold for escalation. In the final phase of analysis, the strategic meaning becomes clearer. Regardless of attribution, regardless of exact strike verification, the pattern suggests a shift in modern conflict design. Precision is no longer just about hitting targets. It is about shaping perception across multiple domains simultaneously: electronic, kinetic, informational, and psychological. And when those domains align in time, the effect is disproportionate to visible damage. It produces strategic uncertainty, and uncertainty is the new center of gravity. Engagement spike. The most powerful outcome here is not impact. It is instability. What follows is not a conclusion in the traditional sense. It is a transition state. Regional actors recalibrate posture. Global observers reassess thresholds. Markets adjust risk models. Military planners update assumptions about response time and system resilience. And beneath all of it, one fact remains consistent. The next phase will not begin with a declaration. It will begin with detection. Because in this kind of conflict architecture, the first sign of escalation is no longer a strike. It is the moment the system realizes it is already behind. Final engagement spike. In modern warfare, the side that sees first is often the side that survives longest. If you want more tactical breakdowns like this, subscribe now.